Picture this: a nearly new, fully loaded pickup truck, a gleaming symbol of success that cost its owner over $60,000 just a year ago, is being dumped at auction for less than a 10-year-old Toyota Camry. We're talking about $50,000 pickups being dumped for $12,000. The American truck market isn't just slowing down or correcting itself. It is undergoing a devastating, hidden financial implosion. Trucks worth more than most people's yearly salary are now considered toxic assets. What you're witnessing is a perfect storm of skyrocketing repossessions, exploding loan defaults, and a terrifying secret factor that's making certain brands completely worthless overnight, while others somehow hold their value. We're going to reveal the one hidden trigger that decides if your truck survives or dies, and why the promise of bulletproof resale value has been exposed as the biggest, most expensive lie in the auto industry. But to fully grasp the true terrifying scale of this disaster, you need to first understand how the American pickup was transformed from an essential tool into a deadly, multi-generational financial liability. For years, the Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, and the Ram 1500 were more than mere vehicles. They were a badge of honor, a loud declaration that you'd finally made it. Contractors, ranchers, and even suburban dads lined up at dealerships, often paying $10,000 over sticker just to skip the agonizing 6-month wait list. The average full-size pickup price soared past an obscene $62,869, marking a sickening 60% jump in barely a decade, while the average American worker's pay barely increased by 25% in the same period. A top-trim diesel or a luxury package now easily costs more than a starter home in vast swathes of the country. This rapidly growing, unsustainable gap between what trucks cost and what people could actually earn was bridged by a dangerous new financial product, the 84-month loan with an interest rate often climbing above 7%. Buyers stretched their budgets until they were paper thin, betting everything on the certainty that the good times and their truck's value would last forever. They signed away on monthly payments, frequently topping $1,100, transforming a proud symbol of success into a highly leveraged ticking debt bomb. Mike Torres, like tens of thousands across the country, believed the market's gospel. His brand new $68,000 F-250 came with a relentless $1,178 payment, which was more than his first mortgage payment from years earlier. He drove it with quiet pride, convinced his investment was ironclad. He couldn't have been more wrong. That foundation of debt and false confidence has now utterly shattered, and the first victims were people exactly like Mike. As the vital oil field contracts dried up across Texas, Mike missed his payment in January. At first, it felt like a small slip, something he could fix if a new job came in, but the calls from the lender, Ally Financial, started immediately. First polite reminders, then aggressive daily pressure. February brought no new work, and absolutely no way to make that daunting $1,178 payment. Mike watched his savings drain away, bill by bill, until there was nothing left but the truck and a growing sense of dread. He desperately tried to sell it privately, then to dealers. But the offers were humiliating, with one quoting just $14,000 for a truck barely 2 years old. Trucks that once seemed untouchable had become a massive liability overnight. By March, Mike was 3 payments behind, and his story became just another devastating statistic in a terrible wave sweeping the nation across the U.S. Subprime auto loan delinquencies have spiked past an alarming 5.5%, reaching the highest level since the last recession. This wave of financial pain is fueling an immediate avalanche of defaults. Repo agents like Shauna in Atlanta now report taking as many as 15 to 20 nearly new trucks a night. Vehicles often so new, they still carry the scent of new leather and have plastic on the floor mats. Shauna has seen grown men break down in their driveways, their children watching from the porch as their dad's lifeline is towed away. She often finds work boots on the floorboards, hard hats in the back seat, or business cards tucked into the visor. These aren't just vehicles. They are the literal backbone of a trade, a family's entire livelihood, gone in a matter of months. One night, without warning, the F-250 disappeared from Mike's driveway, hauled off to a holding lot, then shipped to auction. At the Mannheim auction in April, the numbers were brutal. Mike's truck, valued at $68,000 new, brought just $12,000 at sale. The rest of the tens of thousands still owed on the loan. That deficiency balance is still his burden, haunting his credit and his future. But the pain isn't confined to the driveways. The financial pressure is just as brutal, if not more so, on the dealerships. Unsold trucks are no longer an asset for dealers. They are an expensive financial liability, draining the bottom line by $27 a day in interest, insurance, and the relentless slow bleed of depreciation. For a mid-sized dealer holding 50 of these high-dollar units, that translates to over $1,400 a day just to keep them parked, and unsold trucks that linger past 120 days become immediate panic points because the high-interest floor plan financing begins to aggressively eat through any hope of profit. To move them, manufacturers like Ford and Ram are dangling massive hidden incentives, dealer cash, pull-ahead programs, and factory bonuses often totaling $7,500 per unit. One dealer, speaking on condition of anonymity, admitted they will secretly knock $12,000 off the public price, take the bonus, and still barely break even, or even take a small loss, all just to stop the catastrophic daily bleed. Officially, the window sticker stays ridiculously high for the public headlines, but behind closed doors, the real price has plummets. Dealers are rushing to sell to a wholesaler or dump it at auction, whatever it takes, turning once prized inventory into a relentless, desperate race to the bottom. This dealer panic is adding a fresh, toxic glut of unwanted pickups to an already flooded market, accelerating the entire price collapse into a freefall. Yet the true, nationwide chaos was triggered by the high-stakes world of Wall Street finance. The crisis went from a consumer problem to a full-blown, systemic financial contagion when a major subprime auto lender, Trickolor, imploded and filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. This single shocking event in September 2025 sent asset-backed securities, complex financial products tied to bundles of those very high-risk pickup loans, crashing to just 12 cents on the dollar. Investors ranging from major regional banks to pension funds and hedge funds who thought they were holding safe, diversified assets suddenly faced staggering multi-million-dollar losses. The investigation immediately surfaced massive fraud and misrepresentation, including the illegal practice of double pledging the same loans as collateral to different lenders. This meant that when the music stopped, literally nobody knew who actually owned the underlying trucks. This instantly created chaos, locking up tens of thousands of repossessed trucks in legal limbo, with their titles tangled in court disputes and all recovery efforts paralyzed by bankruptcy orders. Rival lenders, panicked by the news of the Trickolor failure, rushed to dump their own inventory at auction, desperate to salvage whatever cash they could before values cratered further. The ultimate brutal truth that emerged from this financial bloodbath exposed the single most important and terrifying factor dictating the future of your truck's value. The days of assuming all full-size pickups hold their value are brutally, irrevocably over. The difference between a financial success and a personal catastrophe now comes down to two numbers: the value retention of the Detroit 3, Ram, Silverado, F-150, is now scraping the low to mid 30% range after just 5 years, especially for any model flagged for a questionable service history or potential odometer trouble. Dealers simply don't want them. Meanwhile, a truck like the Toyota Tundra is holding strong, keeping about 62% of its value. Why the massive gap? Reliability and a clean, verifiable history are the dividing line analysts now universally call reliability, the hidden trigger that makes a truck bulletproof or utterly worthless. Dealers are actively walking away from the massive glut of Detroit trucks dumped at auction, citing fears of electronic glitches, widespread undisclosed issues, and too many unknowns. If you are currently underwater on a Ram or Silverado, every passing month brings more financial risk. Depreciation is no longer a slow trickle. It is a tidal wave that is washing away billions in equity. The market glut is so massive that forecasts suggest pressure on prices could last through 2026 and perhaps even beyond. The American dream of owning a pickup truck has been exposed as a dangerous illusion built on excessive debt, reckless financial engineering, and a desperate chasing of profit margins. This is more than a story about cheap trucks. It's a profound warning. The next crash won't just empty dealer lots. It will fundamentally reshape how we measure value and trust in the promise of what we drive next. Be picky, brace yourself, and know that in this new market, value is no longer guaranteed. When debt outpaces reality, even the biggest, shiniest icons can tumble, and the devastating consequences fall hardest on the working-class families who can least afford them.